Is this a legitimate grievance that the January 6th committee hasn't done its work in public?
Secrecy and closed doors have a function to encourage candid deliberation. So I don't think it's quite fair to say that inherently the fact that they have not been entirely open is a demerit against them. On the other hand, sunlight being the great disinfectant, as we said, and because this committee is enveloped in suspicions that it is partisan and has political objectives, the more they get out, the better. And my feeling, Leland, is that in a city that leaks like a sieve in the best of times, it's going to be hard for them to keep much secret for very long.
You and I were together during a number of the hearings, and we broke them down. You called them tellings, not hearings, because they were the scripted show. They were not a question and answer in the way that we typically see congressional hearings. But is there a real danger to the committee and its credibility to not have been willing to discuss all of the mistakes surrounding January 6th and only focus on those surrounding President Trump?
I think that's right, because it goes to the question of a criminal referral. If there's a criminal referral, it will be because the president was guilty of obstructing a congressional proceeding. Now, to establish that, and here we get to what the committee is going to have to be more open about than it has been. To establish that, they have to establish, A, that his rhetoric at his rally that preceded the march to the Capitol caused not just the march to the Capitol, which we have happen in Washington constantly, but it caused the riotous behavior and the destruction of property and the invasion that occurred after that. That's really hard to establish. And if they want the Department of Justice to proceed on that premise, they're going to have to share with the Department of Justice and with the rest of us, because they're dealing with someone here, and Mr. Trump, who got more than 70 million votes for president. And that has to be taken into account when you're talking about a criminal referral involving him.
Bernie Thompson, the chairman of the committee, we have not made a decision as to who, but we have made decisions that criminal referrals will happen, reporting some of those discussions have been going on today with a decision later this week. NBC reports the full report from the January 6th committee comes out in a couple of weeks. Does the committee run the risk of making this criminal referral and the DOJ then charging somebody, and anyone who's charged, be it the president or any one of a number of people that clearly the January 6th committee does not like, saying, wait a second, how can I get a fair trial when you just had television programs paid for by the government with subpoena power where I had no right to question witnesses? You've tainted the American jury pool by having these proceedings that were inherently one-sided and partisan.
You can taint the jury pool in an instant with the saturation journalism coverage of all of this. So yes, there is a problem inherent in this. Suppose, for example, they wanted to indict one of the lawyers who advocated the rather lunatic constitutional theory that Mike Pence had the power to disavow certain electoral votes, disallow them. Now, holding a lunatic constitutional theory is not a crime, and even advocating is not a crime.
I'm wondering about the lessons learned, because clearly you think about the intelligence failures that led up to this, the fact that the National Guard wasn't there, exactly who or why said no, to be determined and to be figured out when we know all the facts. But it's clear there were huge things that were missed going up to this. Here's General Piat defending the military's actions during the House oversight hearing. Take a listen.
Now, when people's lives are on the line, two minutes is too long, but we were not positioned to respond to that urgent request. We had to re-prepare, so we would send them in prepared for this new mission.
If the committee singularly focuses on President Trump and sort of who to refer, who do we get the tough answers from, not about President Trump, but about the other million people or so, or less, 10,000 people in the federal government who in some way touched January 6th but screwed up?
Well, there are big questions, including questions about what Speaker Pelosi knew and said and when she knew and said it. Now, we've heard the word optics a lot tonight, Leland, and I think something ought to be said about that. The concern about the optics of combat-dressed soldiers surrounding the United States Capitol is not trivial and superficial. It is a substantial injury to the standing of the United States in the world to see something like that. And remember, after this, they put up a security fence that surrounded, I think, the Supreme Court as well as the Capitol. And it took a long time and a lot of agitation to get them to take it down, because every bureaucracy tries to maximize its mission. And for the security bureaucracy, you can't be too secure. Well, yes, you can if you make the United States look like a banana republic.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.